Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the second episode of the Ubrick Show. Now with me I have Monash. Monash, welcome back.
Thank you. I mean, every time you welcome me back, I feel really, really warm. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for.
Yeah, and hopefully, some of you might be listening for the first time. So this is the Ubrick Show. This is season 2 of the Ubrick Show. So we've had a season last year. So season 2 is primarily we are focusing a lot of our topics around education and some of the challenges that we feel education, higher education in the UAE, that we feel are facing. Yeah, and many of these topics are topics that we've discussed internally quite a lot. Me, Monash, our operation guys, Ashwin specifically. Shout out to Ashwin. And when the show started, we started planning the show. We also felt like this is a good outlet. Kind of sometimes these things are frustrating internally for us. So we feel this is a good outlet to let the world know as well, what we are actually thinking.
And probably another person or other set of people is our prospects, our clients, and these are discussions that we get to learn a lot from them, and we understand. And especially when you're trying to work with somebody new, you understand what are their challenges, and that is one important question you or Ashwin are actually asking, guys. What is your most pressing challenge? And a lot of these topics have come from that, and today's topic especially is very close to our heart because we keep hearing this, and we've been discussing this for a while internally, and we want to bring it out there and see if people can benefit.
Yeah. So in one of the previous episodes, where we spoke about how higher education or universities, specifically when we're talking about the region, are super reliant on paid media, lead generation. And the context of this topic is whenever we speak to universities, when we ask them what is your number one challenge, everybody usually says lead generation. They say lead generation is our number one challenge. But in the past 6 months, right, after this whole Market for Edu collaboration, partnership, and we've been speaking more and more, we have more context. Yeah. We've started getting a vibe that lead generation at times, majority of the time is not the challenge actually. And like Monash said, when we are actually speaking more and more, we are understanding there is a bigger elephant or there is a bigger monster at play than lead generation. Monash, do you mind telling us what?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. The thing is, when we ask people what are the biggest challenges, they definitely start with the word lead generation. But then you ask them why lead generation, and after a couple of whys, we understand actually lead generation is not the biggest challenge, but it's the journey from a lead to a student or enrollment. That is where the biggest challenge lies. And to probably talk more about that is today it's become so easy with the platforms, with the paid media reliance, to actually generate leads. So there is a lot of leads in the pipeline. There are a lot of leads that each of the marketing teams are generating and competing with each other to do, and that is not the challenge anymore. So the biggest challenge is the connection and the journey from a lead to a student, or another way to put it is the connection between the marketing and the admissions teams.
And I think one very interesting thing to point out over here is also in another way to look at it is the quality of the lead. When you look at it, so many universities that we know or many people we hear quite often is they're getting a lot of leads, but the quality is quite low. Now, quality, Monash, this is what we want to discuss. How do you define a good quality lead? Can you define a good quality lead? Don't you think this is the biggest issue where most of the universities themselves don't have this defined? Like, in our terminologies, we call it MQL, marketing qualified lead, and we call it an SQL, sales qualified lead. What is the difference between these two, for example, Monash?
Yeah, so let's talk about a marketing qualified lead. A marketing qualified lead is a lead that a marketing has generated, and they've gone through a couple of stages where, okay, now it's good enough. The lead knows my brand, and then it is handed over to sales, and then it becomes a sales qualified lead. in layman's terms, when admission picks up the phone and talks to somebody, are they ready to join the university in this intake or in the very coming intakes? Do they know enough about the university? Do they know the fee structures? All these would lead them to being an enrollment. So to define these, in how we would define them are by defining something called user engagement signals. So how engaged are they?
Or engagement rate, for example.
Engagement rate, yeah. We're not talking about the social media engagement rate, but with your brand, what are your assets? Your assets are your social media pages, definitely, your website, your brochures, the number of times they've called your toll-free number. All these are the different.
How many times they've opened emails?
How many times? Brilliant. How many times they've opened the emails? All these are user engagement signals. Once you can measure them, you can actually start defining what a good lead is. Yeah. So that's the difference between MQL and SQL. And ideally, as universities, as marketeers of universities, they want to generate as many high quality or sales qualified leads.
And I think this is what, so end of the day, general rule of thumb, SQL and MQL definitions might be quite similar for universities, but with universities, with the programs, this might slightly, especially the SQL might slightly change. MQL remains more or less the same for everybody else. And one other reason we feel, now coming back, what we are trying to say is, okay, lead generation is not the actual problem. The problem is that the leads that you're generating, how good quality they are. Now, putting a system in place to understand how good this quality of leads are. Because the reason this happens is, also I feel like there are universities when the September intake comes, they are trying to, ideally their enrollment target is 1,500 enrollment, let's say, or 1,000. Now they take an historic conversion rate of, let's say, 5 to 10%. So let's say they need 40,000, 30,000 leads. Now just imagine, I'm sure many marketeers or recruitment guys or admission guys listening to this, they might relate to this, is you need 500 or 1,000 enrollments and you have 30,000 leads. And the best universities, maybe they have 10 to 15 admission people who are calling them up, interacting with them. This is not humanly possible to actually qualify this 40,000. And this is where this happens, which we've seen quite a lot, is what happens is, because you have every month you have 10,000 leads, 4-month campaign. In 10,000 leads, if 10 people are actually working, so ideally one person has to do 1,000 leads. And just imagine how difficult it is going to be. This is where the situation happens, where back in the day, we were working with a very big university 2 years before, remember, and we were giving them a lot of leads. And what used to happen is they used to say the leads are not converting or the leads are low quality. So what we did internally is, we still do this once in a while with the universities. The leads they say are not good quality, we started calling the leads ourselves. And surprisingly, what we found out was the leads which says not interested or not good quality, sometimes the person called them once and they might have actually said, I'm not free right now. Some of them said we never got the call, or we got the call but it was a missed call. Somebody just said, you know what, did you, like for example, this is how the typical call went. Hi, my name is Monash and Sheyaf. I'm calling from UBrick University. Are you interested in our digital marketing program? No. Boom. The call was placed. So it is not just about defining. So over there, what happened is that lead is not good. Nobody tried to understand, are you looking at another university? Is there any other program? What is a good time to call? I'm not saying everybody is doing this, but this is usually how. And the interesting thing is, if somebody spent that enough time to actually find out that one lead, if it converts, the ticket sizes for bachelor's, undergraduate, postgraduate, it could make a lot of difference. So definitely defining MQL SQL. And second thing, I would say the biggest problem is also sales process is kind of also not defined. The pipelines are not defined. What do you think?
No, the thing is, I can't blame them, because if one agent or one admission consultant is processing 1,000 leads in a month, definitely there is also a 1 or 2 follow-up they have to do. Within the 3rd month, they're processing 3,000 odd leads. Yeah. And so like we mentioned, it is not easy to do this if there is not a good process, if there is
no system also.
No system in place. Yeah. So the first thing to definitely do is to define them. Define them is actually marketing department and the admission department getting together on a table and discussing, okay, when these criteria are met, only then would I hand over the lead to you.
Yeah.
And if at any point the sales thinks that, you know what, I've not gotten in touch with them, there should be a possibility to send back the lead to marketing so that they can process them. Does that make sense, Sheyaf?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I just remembered, the team internally, I think a month back, we did a small activity where, we had like 6-7 of people from the team. We started signing up to a couple of universities, on their landing pages, on their ads. And we were trying to build a case for one university that we are speaking to, which is a client right now. And what we understood was 6 people from our team signed up for 6 different courses on the same day. And I was one among them, rest of the team members as well. And the surprising thing is, all 5-6 of us got different, like some of us, like for me, my first call was missed. I did not even know, for example, because it came from a mobile number, if I'm not wrong. And then I got an email. So I replied back to that email saying, did you guys call? Was it from mobile? I did not get a response to that. Somebody actually did not get a call until 2 days. And we all signed up at the same time. So this is just to show. So marketing guys are doing their job. I'm not saying admission and recruitment is not. I think like you mentioned, Monash, it's not them not doing their job. It's because they don't have one process. Second, systems or tools set in place. Because like we said, 1,000 leads for one person in a month. Average daily, he has to make how many? 50 calls?
Now this is going to be a math problem.
Yeah, it is going to be a math problem. We don't want to get there. But it is going to be difficult. And even 50 calls in a day and keeping up. So solution, what we think and what we are currently implementing for some people, and we are getting there. And bringing back Market Forward into the picture, they've actually done this for a lot of universities and it has worked beautifully. Is definitely, like you said, Monash, is one thing is putting a system in place. First is process. Once you have the process, you need a system or a platform that will actually support the system to actually identify what is an MQL. Okay, if it's marketing, if the system, for example, we love, for example, HubSpot, and HubSpot is something that we actually use. And HubSpot usually has all these options, for example, for marketing and sales, where marketing and sales can see at the same time what are the leads. But the moment, for example, the lead does action 1, action 2, opens an email, spends X amount of time on the website, has a reply to 2 emails. For example, there is a process that, a workflow or something, a trigger happens and this lead goes to the sales.
And probably let's throw an example of how practically this happens. Yeah. So hypothetical university needs to process 40,000 leads in 5 months. Yeah. And they have 10 agents. You're running campaigns on Facebook, Google, etc., etc. When every lead comes in, the system tries to understand what is the journey of the lead. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like what we mentioned, try to measure user engagement signals. So have they come to the website? If they have come to the website, how many pages on the websites have they looked into? How much time did they spend? Did they download a brochure? Did they interact with a chatbot that you have put in place? Things like that. So, and think of a lead that came through a Facebook ad. Yeah. So a lead with a very low engagement rate. Yeah. So we would give a lead score to it. Yeah. So somebody who has not achieved a score yet, that is not passed to sales.
Yeah.
Or admissions. That goes into a nurturing cycle. So what is nurturing? Nurturing is basically giving more information to the particular lead. It could be via email, via WhatsApp, via SMS, and getting them to know more about the brand.
I mean, traditionally, nurturing is what a salesperson or an admission person does on a daily basis, calling the person, giving. But when you have, again, 1,000 leads, 50 calls, the amount of patience you will have for the first 5 calls to ask, how are you today? What's happening? On the 20th call, hi sir, hello.
Or the 70th call, imagine.
70th call, it drastically decreases. So definitely putting a system in place. And like we said, we are currently doing this for some of the universities and we have some case studies which we've done and we are actually getting there. And also I think one other very big challenge that I've seen personally talking to in the past 2 to 3 months, speaking to a lot of K-12 and higher education. we never notice this. Yeah, we never notice this. Is every university or majority of the university still is always looking for a platform. Like everybody is jumping from Salesforce to some other CRM to some other CRM. Always one project which is ongoing in every university is the CRM. Or student management means not after the student enrolls, before that. So this is why there are universities that we've seen, they've heavily invested on a platform and they're still using Excel sheets. And the primary reason, I think, is two. One is most of the universities want one platform which will do everything, which is the sales, marketing, enrollment, timetable, service, everything. And I think this is where it is failing. Because seriously, in the market today, when you're looking at the tech stack, there isn't one solution. Every solution that you look, there'll be two things missing or two things that you need. So what we really recommend is, for example, at least you need to have two systems. One is until the enrollment happens. One is after the enrollment, your normal stuff. So definitely,
and probably have an integration between them so that
they talk to each other.
They talk to each other. So the information is passed across.
And one other very big benefit, Monash, also having a system in place like this. Let's say, for example, HubSpot. We spoke about this about paid media, and one of the biggest other challenges is attribution. End of your enrollment, nobody knows which platform is doing very well. They have one level of data saying, okay, from paid we got this much enrollments, from organic we got, if somebody has. But sometimes you also know this, that we've seen after implementing this, somebody will come as an ad first. Then they'll come as organic traffic. Or other way around, they will come as organic traffic first, then they will interact with you on 3 different ads. Then they will call you directly. Then they'll schedule a meeting. So what happens is sometimes the last touch point is what is attributed.
Mm-hmm. And not having one system, what happens is each of these platforms, be it Google, be it your Facebook, be it your Google Analytics that measures your website, everybody has one angle of looking at it. So when you take up a report from your Google Ads, it tells you so many leads it's generated.
Yeah.
Facebook will tell you so many leads it's generated. And your analytics will tell you a different story. But probably they are all referring to, and there is definitely an overlap. So they are referring to the same lead being generated in different places.
Yeah.
Or basically, it's very natural. I am going to do a purchase, which is very X. I mean, it has an X price with it, and I'm going to spend the next 2 to 3 years on it. I would definitely check them out on all different platforms as possible, and I would interact with them there. Yeah.
And the average life cycle, is nobody takes a decision in the first call. 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, sometimes even more than 1 year is until they actually decide to enroll most of the time. So definitely, I think the takeaway from the discussion today is more than the lead generation, what happens after the lead generation is a challenge. So definitely define your SQLs, sales qualified lead, marketing qualified lead, have a proper sales process in place, SLAs, for example. Once you have this in place, introduce a system like HubSpot or any other system. We love HubSpot. Okay, introduce. There are other systems also, platforms that are possible, but we have a lot of experience doing this. So introduce a platform in place, and once you introduce this platform in place, then definitely start tracking and measuring. Mm-hmm. So I think
just a little bit of addition over here is the challenge we have seen is when this decision is done from, let me put it from top to bottom. Yeah, when the management is involved, it's very easy for people, be it your admissions or your marketing, to adopt a system, because system is very easy to put in place, process is very easy to put in place, but the management, people being ready to adopt change the way they work is very important. So if you have defined your SLAs, if you put a system in place, make sure your management has bought into the whole thing.
I think, Monash, this is a really, really valid point, because I think all the success that we've actually seen with the best good implementation that we've done is when the senior management, the directors, even the junior marketeers, all those people, they want to implement this. But we've seen when many of the people, when senior management also involved, it makes a lot of difference. Things move quite faster as well. And definitely the IT people as well. They usually also support or fast track this whole movement as well. So yeah, definitely, guys, we hope, it's quite clear, or, if there is more, anything that, you want to, understand about this, we'll more than happy. And if any of you listening to this, you are from the marketing, admissions, or even operations, we would be more than happy to actually take you on a demo and show you this as well. How this happens. And sorry, one small thing that came into my mind is, imagine every month you have meetings. Marketing has to show how much leads have come. The enrollments have to show. The admission has to show. When you have in our experience, when we've implemented HubSpot and any tool for that matter, click of a button, you can actually see what, and to minute level of each salesperson, each admission person, who has made how many calls, who has made how many emails, who has the highest number of leads in their hand, and average time, because calls can be recorded, emails can be recorded, everything is recorded. And to top it all up, after the September intake, one click of a button, you will see which marketing activity brought you the highest
Admissions,
not leads, enrollments. And this is a deal breaker.
Yeah. So good stuff. So if you guys are finding value in this, if you're liking what we are speaking, this is available in other podcast platforms, like
not just video, also on audio platforms as well.
It could be iTunes, whichever your favorite app is. Yeah. So make sure that you look in these apps and subscribe there, and probably leave us a comment. It was something that you liked, something that you want to add on the show. We would love to hear from you.
Wherever you're seeing this, you could be seeing this on LinkedIn, you could be seeing this on YouTube, or if you're listening to one of the podcast platforms, definitely let us know what you think.
Brilliant.
So that's all, guys. Monash, so we'll come back with another episode. Until then, take care, guys.
Should we do a high five or something? Yeah.
Bye-bye.